It's here. It's finally here. After what felt like an eternity, I was finally able to get my hands on the remake of one of the greatest stealth games of all time. Despite the cheesy, often over-the-top James Bond anime-style action scenes and dialogue, with a story where everyone is double, triple, quadruple crossing each other, Metal Gear Solid 3 was way ahead of its time, especially compared to basically every other game in the stealth action genre. I've played through the original Metal Gear Solid 3 so many times, and over 20 years later it still holds up quite well for the most part. So when I booted up the remake and was greeted with this amazingly new, fresh coat of paint, you can imagine my excitement. Oh my god, you can crouch walk! You can crouch walk! You can change camo on the fly! Ah man, the graphics! Look at the graphics, man! Hot damn, why do I even begin with something of this magnitude? My only real nitpick about the remake is the fact that sometimes the camera can feel a little too close to Snake, which was especially noticeable in areas like the warehouse, but it's nothing that really invalidated the experience as a whole for me. And honestly, after playing both the original and the remake back to back, I don't really see myself going back to the original for any reason other than nostalgia, or the Master Collection on the Switch I guess, since I can play that on a train or something. Though I suppose that pretty much immediately answers the title of the video though. I do think the original has a superior title screen, and the remake did get rid of certain methods of beating certain boss fights like the fake deathball trick to beat the fear for example, but the positives of the remake still massively outweigh the negatives, to the point where they're barely noticeable. Like, they even brought back the Snake vs Monkey minigames. Come on man, throw away every other copy of MGS3 that you have. This is all that you need. I would have paid full price for this alone.
Something big is going down. Very big. Apes. What? Monkeys. Yeah, gotcha!
One major thing they did keep the same though is of course the voice acting. And normally, I'd be pretty against this, but the Metal Gear franchise is such a special case that I can see why they did it. And actually, I probably prefer it this way. The voice acting in the original is genuinely really good, much better than most games at the time especially, which can also be said about pretty much every other game in the series too. Regardless, moving away from that, we're now arriving at the cream of the crop, the meat of the game. The main reason why the remake is now the definitive way to play Metal Gear Solid 3. The gameplay. Oh my god man, it's so smooth, it's so good, it's so polished. Being able to crouch walk and change camo on the fly alone makes it better than the original, but that's not all. Pretty much everything else has been refined and improved, including CQC. It's now much more flexible and satisfying. You can now use enemies as human shields, you can throw them to the ground while interrogating them, slamming, the most satisfying move in any Metal Gear game, now has really cool animations, aiming and shooting has adopted a much more modern over-the-shoulder third-person style. It's simply euphoric, man. I very rarely show an extremely excited and over-the-top level of emotion, but playing through the remake made me feel like a little kid on Christmas Day. There are so many new things, both big and small, that make it an amazingly fresh experience. Being able to change the filter with the stunning new graphics is super cool. Having the option to choose between new style and legacy style is really refreshing and unique. And man, all of the extras are awesome. I've always found stuff like this very interesting, especially with games I love. I really enjoy looking through all the different collections, manuals, records, titles, and so on. I feel like it really adds to the immersion and makes playing through the game feel much more rewarding. Say what you want about Konami, but they have really outdone themselves with this game. Seriously. With all of that said though, I still don't think that the gameplay of the remake is on par with the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5 and the level of freedom that game gave you, but it's fairly close. And besides, while 5 had and still has the best gameplay in my opinion, it also has other issues regarding its story and such, if you can even call it a story. With the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 though, it has both. Amazing gameplay and graphics that improve over the original, and the same iconic and more coherent story, unlike 5. And that's all I could really ask for. But they did all of that And then some. Never in a million years would I have expected them to bring back Guy Savage from the PS2 version of Metal Gear Solid 3. It was when I heard about this where I thought to myself, oh shit, this is gonna be one of the greatest experiences of my life, huh? And it was. I've played the original game a million times, and boy am I gonna play the remake a million times. But that's not to say that you shouldn't play the original MGS3. It still is to this day an amazing game, and I actually think that people should play the original first before the remake just to see how everything started, but well, that's just me. And I guess if you don't want to do that, then that's fine. Although I suppose people who play the remake have likely already played the original anyway, so it probably doesn't make any difference either way, but I'm blabbering on. Let's move on. So, with all of the amazing stuff that the remake has to offer, it still has some things from the original game that were either a bit of a hassle, or that just inherently sucked entirely. Like healing. Yeah, it's still the same pain in the ass. I understand the whole, oh, you're in the jungle and you have to look for your own food and heal your own wounds with whatever you have on you to survive, but sometimes immersion doesn't equal fun, especially in a video game. I would have preferred it if they just kept the format that most other Metal Gear games had, where you just use a ration and boom, done. But I guess beggars can't be choosers, hey. It is slightly better in the remake, because when you need to heal you'll get a pop-up that can immediately take you to the cure screen, but I'm still not a fan. It's still quite tedious. Didn't like it in the original, still don't like it now. A couple of the boss fights still suck too, namely the pain and the fear. I never liked him, especially the pain. He's just kind of boring and really tedious in my opinion.
The pain.
Fortunately though, every other boss fight is still either just as enjoyable, or much better in the remake. Like man, I always liked the boss's boss fight in the original, but I absolutely love it in the remake. It's so good. And I'm also really relieved and glad that they kept most of the different methods and options of beating the boss fights in the remake, particularly with the end. I always loved how flexible and unique he was. All the multiple different ways of beating him always fascinated me, especially the one where you skip the calendar and he dies of old age. I'm so glad they kept this in the remake.
Drop your weapon.
Major, I found the end. He's dead.
What the hell happened?
I'm also glad that all the unlockables, like the stealth camo and infinite ammo, need to actually be unlocked the same way as the original game, rather than following the paid DLC route like a lot of games now do. Even though it did still cross the DLC path. But it's mostly just a bunch of new uniforms and other cosmetics that weren't in the original game, with some of my personal favourites being the crocodile suit, a mask of the froggy dudes, and the new ducky dudes. They're all pretty funny to wear during cutscenes actually.
Hello, motherfucker. I've never talked this much about myself before. Thanks.
Oh man, what a thrill. With darkness and silence through the night. Someone pinch me, because I'm still in a dream, Snake Eater. Well, what else can I say? Hopefully I'm not missing anything too major, because man, I'm still in awe of the remake. I've played it multiple times already and still can't get enough of it. Needless to say, I think we have a clear winner here. While the original game was undoubtedly ahead of its time, and is still great to play, pretty much everything about the remake simply blows it out of the water in my opinion. There's only room for one Metal Gear Solid 3, and one Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Two legends, side by side, with one surpassing the other, carrying the torch, and holding it firmly. But, what do you think? Is there anything that the original does better? Or do you think that the remake is vastly superior in every way? Feel free to let me know. That is all. Take care.